Hello everybody, today in the shop I'm going to be doing something about my clamps. They're currently stuck in a corner and I need somewhere to hang them, so I'm going to build some holders for all of my clamps. All of the holders that I will be making are made from 1/2-inch birch plywood that I had left over from an old project. There's going to be a lot of weight hanging from these clamp rests, so I decided to give them more structural stability by laminating these strips together, essentially creating a 1-inch thick piece of plywood. I'm not super worried about these strips being completely, perfectly adhered to each other, so I'm just using some spring clamps to hold them in place while they dry. In total, I make 3 laminations following this exact same process. All of the individual pieces for these clamp rests are sized at the miter saw. I first trim the end of each lamination, mark for the width that I need, or the length that I need, and then cut them to their final size. All of the shelf support pieces are mitered at a 45-degree angle. I use the miter saw to do this as well. After drawing all of the layout lines for where my clamps are going to actually slide into the rest, I just start drilling these relief holes in the plywood. Essentially, when I'm cutting these slots, these holes are where each of the clamp slots are going to end. I'm not entirely sure why I was getting so much burning when I was drilling this plywood out, whether it's a glue related issue or not, but I could not prevent the plywood from burning as I was drilling it out. If you have any tips, please leave those down in the comment section. I'd be very happy to hear your suggestions. Following my layout lines, I used my bandsaw to cut all of the slots for the clamps to actually rest in. I initially put blue tape on one side of the entire board, but quickly realized that I didn't have enough capacity in my bandsaw to do this, so you'll see later on that I remove half of that tape and put it on the other side of the board to try to limit the amount of tear out that my bandsaw causes on this plywood. With all of my cuts complete, I can begin the assembly process for these clamp rests. I first attach everything using glue and brad nails, and then I drill pilot holes with countersinks and attach everything permanently using wood screws. I have one more clamp rest to make, primarily to hold all of my spring clamps. The cuts are made at the table saw and the miter saw as well. This clamp rest has 3 attachment points for the large dowel that actually gets used to hold the clamps. I'm drilling through all 3 pieces at once using my drill press so that I get perfect alignment. The large dowel also gets trimmed to length using my miter saw. The assembly process for this last clamp rest is fairly simple. Rather than using glue and brad nails, I just use a large specie clamp to hold everything in place after I've pre-assembled all of the pieces. The same pilot hole with countersink method used on the previous clamp rests is followed with this one as well. To determine the placement of that center support block, I just measured and found the center of this 2x4. When I filmed this portion of the project, I didn't realize how off-center I was with my camera. It wasn't intentional. Hopefully you were able to see all of the steps that I took during this assembly process though. To prevent the dowel from sliding out of the holders, I shot a brad nail through each attachment point directly through the plywood and into the dowel. To attach these to the wall, I first determined layout by measuring the clamps that were actually going to be held by them, and then just provided for enough clearance. To physically attach them to the wall, I use a combination of drywall anchors and a stud. I use at least one stud per clamp rest because of the amount of weight that these are going to hold. That's it for this project. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button down below. If you want to get notified of future videos that I post on my channel, please hit that subscribe button and enable those notifications. There will be plans available on my website for this project. You can find that link down below in the description section. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you guys on my next build.